those goosebumps every time I'm around, yeah. Cause I'm mine, you make everything feel fine. Girl, you always fine. What you want, yeah. Is it what you want, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we can throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the Mags.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. I nearly forgot them, but they're here. We have the shades. Yes, Pete, you're on the ball as well. Love it. Finally. This is the reaction show to Newcastle United versus Nottingham Forest. 4-3. Didn't look like a 4-3 game at half time. But we'll get into a bit of that. You will notice a bit of change here on Loaded as well. We've got a new background. We're also missing one Chris Hall, he actually brings all this background together, but it makes it work actually. So we need Chris, but Chris is on his way. I think he has some more dishes to do. Anyone that watched the last reaction show will get that one. But yeah, so just a bit explain about the little QR codes we have down the side. You'll see underneath me, you'll have the QR code for buy us a beer. If you want to buy us a beer, use that QR code. It becomes visible later on. And if you want to find out about the Loaded merch, click just put your phone up to the QR code for under Pete there. Yes, that's the one, and it'll take you to the Loaded shop. That's if you want to have a look at what's available there. 10% off everything at the moment. But forget all that stuff for the moment. Let's talk about a bit about the game. But Pete, how are you first? How's things?
Trying to get my breath back after that madness. I'm good. Been a good weekend. Been all over a great weekend of football. If you're a Newcastle United fan, results wise anyway. Finished off the weekend quite nicely. So I'm in a good place right now. Daz, how about you? How's things?
Not too bad. Busy today. Just back. I got back in time for the match, and yeah, delighted I did. Really, because it really kicked on. Did looked a bit dodgy at times, but we'll talk about that. But all good. But Sunday evening, back into another working week again. But let's talk a bit about the match, I guess. Yeah, so this is the team news. Bit different to what we said in a way it is. That's for sure. But yeah, so Pope is back in. You actually were on the ball there, Pete. You had kind of indicated that Pope may come back in. Tonali on the bench. No one saw that coming. Even though there was rumors about Tonali the day before. Willock retains his place. No Botman, unfortunately. And the subs from the City game, as in Tino and Miley, they start. So Trips was dropped as well. But what's your thoughts on the team news when it dropped, Pete?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Definitely not what we looked at on away days, that's for sure. But I don't know why. I just had this feeling about Pope coming back in. I think it's maybe just the manner in which some of the goals have been conceded in the last few games. For Newcastle in the league in particular with Martin Dubravka. I just thought, if there's going to be an opportunity to bring him in, it'd probably be now. Almost just to give Dubravka a bit of a kick up the backside to say, look, you've been playing fantastically well, but you need to make sure you're playing at a high level if you want to be number one. And look, we could have an argument about Nick Pope and Martin Dubravka all day long. But I just had a feeling about it, so that it wasn't maybe as much of a surprise to me as it was maybe to some others. In terms of the rest of the team, Tonali, I'd seen a few rumours that he might be injured. If he was injured, I wouldn't have expected him in the squad at all. So it's really interesting to know. And you know what's really interesting, Daz, is that it wasn't really clarified at any point. Nobody asked the question to Eddie Howe. I was watching it on Sky, and the person that interviewed Eddie Howe didn't ask him about Sandro Tonali. The question was about Lewis Miley, was about Nick Pope. No one mentioned it about why Sandro was on the bench. I just find that a little bit weird, like why that wasn't asked, because he's been such a key and important player. Surely that was one of the first questions you asked. Maybe after the goalkeeping situation, you go, well, why is Sandro Tonali not playing? Nobody asked the question. So whether it's been clarified after the game, I'm not quite sure. If someone's got the answer to that, definitely put it in the chat. That was the big one for me, is that, Sandro Tonali not playing. And look, Newcastle fans have been banging the drum for Miley to get a start. And so although we were frustrated and questioning why Sandro hadn't started, you're looking at Miley, you're thinking to yourself, well, okay, you want him to start. Here's his opportunity. Go show us what you're all about. And I think that was clear today. And we'll talk about that in a second. But anything that stood out for you on top of that, Dad? Anything else that kind of took you on when that came out?
Yeah, so when the team news dropped, I was driving, so I only saw it from your message and 15 minutes before the game. So I was a bit panic stations because obviously we kind of knew Botman wasn't going to be there, but we still had harbored hopes that he would be able to play, or it might be an Eddie Howe surprise. But then when Willock was starting, and we've an awful lot more about Willock during this review as well, but and it just kind of shocked me a bit, I guess. And Shar was there as well, obviously because we didn't have Botman. So a bit worried. I'm not going to lie, to borrow a phrase. I'm not going to lie that I was a bit worried about the team. And then looking at the Forest lineup as well, and of course they have Elliot Anderson in the picture just to rub it all in, and of course some more familiar faces in Matt Sells and Wodinho as well, who were former players starting for Forest. But let's get into the game a bit, and I'll walk you through the game. Actually, there's 169 people watching live. Smash that like button. You know what to do. Target 250. 250. That's easy. Over the course of the next few days, that 250, you can do that.
That has got light on you tonight, people. That has gone live.
Especially after a 4-3 victory. We haven't had a 4-3 for a long time. Remember those Liverpool, Newcastle 4-3s from the yesteryear. But let's go and get into it. So first off, Eddie Howe, he said it again before kickoff, back to basics. That's what they wanted to go back to, and that they did. So in the early corner, a ball across from Isak, no one there to capitalize on it. After 5 minutes, though, disaster struck. Callum Hudson-Odoi with the goal from our throw-in. Murphy kind of fucked things up a bit. He fell asleep. He was after getting a slap on the face from Elliot Anderson at the time as well. But Pope, he was nowhere. His position was nowhere to try and save that. But that was just comical. That wasn't funny, but it was comical. That goal from Forest. What's your thoughts on that one, Pete?
Oh my God. It's a classic Newcastle. Like we started the game actually pretty well, camped in their half, dominated in terms of possession, and looked like the only ones that were going to create an opportunity, and then bang, the first sniff at goal, and they score. It's just a calamity of errors. If I'm going to be honest, a simple throw in, like you never ever turn into danger. Why Murphy's doing that, I've got no idea. He had the whole pitch to play in, facing the way he was. Just carry it on forward and play it through your defence. It was simple. And to do that and to turn into danger the way he did, it was criminal is the word I'm going to use. It's absolutely criminal. Callum Hudson-Odoi has a little bit to do though, and it's a bit of a lovely finish. However, you've got to question the goalkeeper's position there, and maybe I'm protecting him a little bit by saying he wasn't expecting it to come through. But look, he was way too far over one side of his goal. Standard number one rule is stay within your penalty spot, because within your penalty spot, it means you're within the middle of the goal, and that's where you can navigate your position. Like it's stuff that I teach the goalkeeper for my daughter's team. like it's standard Sunday league. You stay between the width of your 6-yard box and your penalty spot narrows down the middle of the goal. It balances you out. The fact that you're standing so far across, I actually think he probably saves it if he's in the middle of the goal, which is even more frustrating. But look, giving the ball away like that from Murphy is criminal. So as I say, calamity of errors, and without even having to try, Forest are 1-0 up. Are you thinking, is it going to be what you like? You literally head in hands, dominated the first 4, 5, 6 minutes, and you're 1-0 down. You're thinking, surely it's not going to be one of these days again. That was my initial reaction. But what was your reaction when that went in, Daz?
Yeah, I was the same. I was there. Oh, here we go. I was just thinking of facing Wolfie on Top Table Talk, and just, is this going to be one of those days? Like we so desperately needed this win, as our title on away days was must win, because the gap between us and Forest and everyone else, because it's still so close. All that was going through my head, and just thinking like, yeah, that we had started okay. So what was going to happen here, but. We'll move forward a bit, because Miley has a volley that's blocked and it goes for a Newcastle corner. Murphy continued to frustrate the hell out of me. He did not seem on the same page. He gave the ball away so many times. I think there might have been a few. We don't condone any violence, but there might have been a few lining up to give him another slap, just to wake him up a bit. But yeah, and Newcastle then, with all the possession, as Wolfie highlighted in a way that Forest would give us the ball, but we haven't been able to take a chance at this stage. 18 minutes, Gordon chance. Yes, he slides in to try and meet that cross from Tino. It just came at him very, very fast. It was a great ball from Murphy. Actually, this is when he does wake up and grip to start that move off, and Tino with the cross in. But then, 22 minutes, up steps the 18-year-old Miley. Lewis Miley to make it 1-1. And let's get his little celebration as well, because we haven't had one in the league from Miley. Here he is. Boom. New one for us unloaded there. So yeah, Miley with the goal. Hall recycles the ball after continued pressure. Miley collects it and applies the finish and puts it through multiple legs to make it 1-1. But your thoughts on Miley's goal, Pete?
Oh, it's a lovely finish, Daz. It's a lovely finish. Really, really well worked play down that left-hand side. That became a feature of our play, particularly in that first half. And you know, everything's brilliant about this goal. His positioning of when to receive the ball. You look at when he actually receives the ball, he's just got so much space in and around him. He's just picked up the space that nobody wants to fill. And it's the space where if you get it right, you're going to be in a position to score every time, and it is. And you know, sometimes when balls like that come into the box, players will snatch at it. They'll hit it first time, even if it's on the weaker foot, and they'll make a real mess of it. But he doesn't. He's got the composure there to just take a nice little touch, get it out of his feet, and then just guide it into that far corner. And yes, it does go through a few legs and whatever. And when you score goals like that, you do have to ride a little bit of luck there. But it's a lovely finish and exactly where you want any player to put that ball. And I was so happy for him, because I thought it was a little bit of a rocky start for him at the beginning of the game, being honest. I thought one of the things about it, and I'll get the sort of area for him to improve out quite early on. I thought one of the areas for Lewis Miley is that he really struggled receiving the ball back to goal. Every time he received it back to goal, particularly in that first half, he needed an extra couple of touches, and they were really trying to put pressure on him. And he was having to kind of release it into little dangerous areas just to get it out of his feet. And I thought he was a little bit of a rocky start, but as soon as he put that ball into the net, I thought it just gave him that confidence, and he really kind of rose and grew into the game after that point. So it was important for two reasons. One, we needed it to get back into the game, but two, he needed it to really give him that confidence, and he flourished after that. He really, really did. It's a lovely goal, Daz. It really, really is a good goal. You've just said it earlier on, 18 years old. It's a kind of, experienced, calm finish of what you'd expect from a 24, 25-year-old. It's that level, and that's really exciting for me to see from him. But yeah, superb goal, Daz. What about you?
Well, if you've heard my voice note reply back, it was one of the biggest reliefs of the season so far. It was just like, we're back in it now. You know, you just think we're going to just keep knocking, and nothing's going to happen first, and they're going to sit this out. They're just going to wing it some way and get through with a 1-0 victory over us. But no, then that's when you knew then we were going to keep at it. Like so the floodgates were going to open. So yeah, it was just a break, and fair play to him. For someone so young to be playing, like even with the league, the Euro in Champions League, him playing as well. Like he's been class for us, and one for now and the future.
Definitely.
Yeah, so let's move on because we didn't have to wait too long, because that was on the 22nd minute. Because 3 minutes later, Hall to Gordon to Hall. Back heel from Hall to Isak, back heel from Isak, back to Hall, looping deflection, in, looping, don't handle it, Murphy, but he somehow gets it in the back of the net, 2-1 Newcastle. Cue the celebration from Murphinho to make it 2-1, and we do have a little celebration here as well from Murphy. Yes, get in. I was afraid he was going to hit it, come off his hand there, Pete, but that was some move.
I was going to ask you. Be honest. Did you think it would come off his hand when it went into the net?
If it did, I'd be asking to take him off. To say the truth, but no, well done to him. He'd started to come back to redeem himself after the early misdemeanors, but you know, great to see that nestle in the back of the net.
Yes, absolute relief, mate. Absolute relief to see that going. We were playing some good stuff. You know, you look at that on the balance of play, Daz, at that point in the game, other than the goal that Callum Hudson-Odoi had scored, Forest hadn't created anything. It was all us. And that was the frustrating thing. It was like, how are they 1-0 up in this situation? Then we put it back to 1-1, I'd just say. Relief. We're back in the game now. Let's go on and get the next one. And we did. It was really, really good play. Again, down that left-hand side, some really good movement. Whether it was Gordon, whether it was Hall, whether it was Willock, it was Isak down there as well. We were just creating so many opportunities. And look, I think I put it, I'm not sure if I put it in our chat. I definitely put it in the Midlands Mags chat. I'd said Murphy owes us for that first goal. I called it like an all-timer worst 21 minutes I've seen from a player this season wearing black and white from Jacob Murphy. Couldn't put a pass together, was all over the place, gave away the first goal effectively. He owed us big time, and to be there just to prod that one in, because I'm not sure if it was definitely going in, but just to ensure that went over the line was a big sort of redemption from him to get us back into the lead. And I was just delighted for it to nestle in the back of the net. And in my mind at that point, it was kind of like, right, okay, we're 2-1. But at this point, I don't know if you agree with this, Daz, but I thought Forest defence were very, very fragile. And they were there for the taking. I was just thinking, right, we've got this second goal. We need more. We need more. We really need to put this team to the sword, just because they looked like there was openings all over the place the way we were playing. But Murphy redemption. Glad he was there to just sort of knee it home, however he managed to get it up with his thigh, with his knee. I have no idea, but as long as it got in there, that was all that mattered. But from your perspective, Daz, so what were your reaction to that ball hitting the net? What was your reaction about Murphy as well, particularly up until we scored that goal?
Yes, the expletives I had for Murphy for a lot of that, but he, as I said earlier, that pass to Tino before in that move earlier, and then putting the ball in with his smile after that was enough to redeem himself for me. But now, Pete, I'm just if I just think back, hang on. Ooh. Did Wood sing Jacob Murphy's praises and said, I know he's going to score now, isn't he? After all that, we might have to remind him of that at Top Table Talk during the week.
He knows it. He knows it. He absolutely knows it for sure. We definitely need to remind him of that. No doubt about it.
We also called it on his watch along at halftime just to say hello. But that was nice. Right, let's get back to the game. So we're 2-1 up at this stage. We have to wait another 3 minutes for the next bit of action because a handball from Nina from Hall's Cross. They are look at it. They send the ref to the screen. Pedo, Newcastle. Isak steps up. Let me get my pictures. Hang on. Where are we? We're nearly there. Isak steps up. Chips it and Sells tried to keep it out, but he was just falling backwards. And 3-1 Newcastle. Iceman does it again. Scores a penalty. I think is it 9 from 10 now. He's scored from the stats that come up on screen. And here's Isak's celebration. Never get sick of seeing this. Pete, first of all. Well, I know it was. It was definitely a penalty, but how did you like that finish from Isak?
Am I the only one who was thinking to myself, how was it taking this long to give this penalty? How did it take like nearly 3-4 minutes to decide whether that was a penalty or not? It was absolutely crazy. It's clearly in the box. His arm is clearly raised above, which is an unnatural position, and it clearly hits him bang smack on the elbow. It's a penalty. It baffled me why it took so long for the ref at the monitor to decide whether that was a penalty or not. I've got no idea. Anyway, it was 110% a penalty. And yeah, I was desperate for us to get that goal, and I thought it was a great opportunity for Isak to get on the scoring sheet. Didn't have any real clear-cut chances up until that point, but this was definitely one. And I don't think I'm the only one that was a little bit surprised in the manner in which he puts the ball into the net. I don't think I was quite expecting him to be dispatching it like that. It was a very unorthodox way of scoring a goal. I don't know what Matt Sells was doing, whether he was thinking he was wearing black and white again. Under Rafa Benitez, I've got no idea. He almost kind of helps it into the roof of the net, but I'll take it. I'll take it all day long. I think there was a relief on all of our faces. Me, you, Daz, Alexander Isak himself, everyone in the stadium. I think there was just a huge sigh of relief that we saw it nestle into the back of the net. And look, let's be honest. It was fully deserved at that point. We were absolutely running riot on Nottingham Forest, and they were all over the place. They were at 6s and 7s. They didn't know what to do. We were just battering them at that point. It was one-way traffic, and it was great to see that go in the back of the net. Just next time, Alexander Isak, just make sure you dispatch it a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable than that. Just to set us all at ease a bit more. But yeah, what about you, Daz? Were you a little bit feeling a little bit of relief like me?
Yeah, I think my voice note back to you guys was like, what happened there? How did he hit that? Like, just with Matt Sells falling back, and Matt Sells very early in the game, he going to catch the ball and kind of threw it out for a corner. He was lucky then it didn't go back. It didn't go into the net. So he didn't have the greatest of days. Matt Sells, he's been brilliant all season for them, but not today so much. But maybe I'm a bit unlucky with the penalty. It was funny. Right, let's move on because we have to wait another 3 minutes, a full 3 minutes. In the whole complete 11-minute spell, I think, for the next goal, because Willock with a run, Isak gets his second as he takes a shot and it deflects over the keeper to make it 4-1 Newcastle. So let me see. Here we are again. We're 4-1 Newcastle, and yeah, we might as well play the Isak again for his second goal. Now, I know, Pete, in our chat, we were going saying, go again, keep going. That could have been after the third goal. But what are you thinking for Isak's second goal and to take us 4-1? none of them clean strikes by any means.
Definitely not. First of all, got to say hello to Dor. Dor is obviously feeling the effects on his way back to Nottingham, or he might well be back by now. It should be, depending on how quickly he left. But yeah, should be back in Nottingham by now. But hope you had a safe travel there and back. Glad to know that you're okay. A little bit glad to know that you're not very happy, as you can see on those pictures, those emojis there, because that means that you didn't win, and that was the one thing that we needed today. It's a must-win for Newcastle. Yeah, look, I'm sure you're going to get top four, Door. We needed the points more than you today, but hopefully we're up there alongside you playing Champions League football at some point at the end of this season. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in for Dior, who's in the chat. But ultimately, we were running absolutely right, Daz. Down that left-hand side, I thought, chatting to you boys about Joe Willock, the guy is electric, absolutely electric. Some lovely football being played. Alexander Isak as well. His hold-up play was fantastic. Lewis Hall making those little runs in as well. It was just great to see. But yeah, Joe Willock making just a real dangerous run with the ball, bearing down on goal. We saw it so many times. We've missed it. We saw a little bit of that against Birmingham, but this was the Joe Willock of 2 years ago. This is what we saw in that first 45 minutes. It was so good to see. He was causing so many problems and just lays it off nicely to Isak. Isak with his left foot, hitting it across goal. It gets the deflection off Marino. I think it comes off his knee and just loops over Matt Sells into the goal. And at that point, I'm up and I'm going absolutely mental. Because at that point, I'm thinking we are home and hosed. 4-1. There's more to come. I'm thinking we can get 5s and 6s here. Because, look, let's be honest, Forest were on their knees at this point. They could not handle us. A team that have defended so well for so many games this season, all barring, of course, the game against Bournemouth. At this point, we were just destroying them. I didn't even see them play this bad against Bournemouth. And we were just cutting them to pieces. Even the Forest fans were saying that as much. And it was just like, this is Newcastle United. This is what we've missed seeing in recent weeks. We saw it against Arsenal in the second round of the Carabao Cup semi-final, in the second leg, sorry. But we hadn't seen this in the league. And it was like, finally, we've got this back. But just a pleasure to watch, Daz. What are your thoughts on this? Because I was in dreamland at this point.
Yeah, well, I want to roll it back to Joe Willock, but like everything he seemed to touch today worked out for him. Like normally he goes on a little run, he either falls over or he loses the ball, but the ball stuck to him today, and he was absolutely class. That Joe Willock, if we could get that Joe Willock more often, what an asset he'd be to us. But how long are we going to go before we see that again? That is my worry when it comes to Joe Willock. Today he was superb, and we're 4-1 up at this stage. With 44 minutes, there's a handball call again from a Gordon shot. Came off Milenković. It was cleared by VAR. It was pretty close, but it was kind of on the goal line, nearly on the goal line to save that one. That's there, But yeah, as you said, Pete, this takes us to halftime, and Joe Willock is on fire. Miley's been playing really, really well, and Hall has been class as well. So they were the standouts for me in that first half. But and also we've got Alexander Isak has now made it to 50 Premier League goals, and this is just some stats and how long it's taken others to get there. But look at him; he's in there in that picture, and I think he's said something about he's got the record now for the Swedish player beating Lundberg to that record. So nice one, Alexander Isak. Let's get into that second half. Still no sign of Chris Hall. Where are you, Chris Hall? Right, actually, a reminder to smash that like button as well if you've joined us anytime soon.
Do we really have to get into that second half?
No, we do.
We waxed Liverpool for that first 45 minutes.
Because it should have been more the same, or it should have been at least shut up shop. but it wasn't. It was like Jekyll and Hyde is kind of a performance from Newcastle. Right, but not straight away, because it came out in the second half at 48 minutes. Shar has won off the crossbar post from a corner, and then like that nearly took us to 5-1. Like at that stage, and then at that stage we would have been taking off players to rest them for the Liverpool game. But 53 minutes, Alanga miss at the back post as Newcastle sit off. Newcastle very sloppy this half, allowing Forest way back in. I'm sure Dore was rejoicing at this performance then as well. Is there a chance? We keep giving the Forest opportunities, and they keep knocking at the door, and they're let in, because in 62 minutes, Milenković gets one back. Heads kind of gone, thinking the game was all over, but it's 4-2 at this stage. Anthony, I didn't take any other notes on that one. Anthony, you want to say on their first second goal, Pete?
Poor defending, real poor defending, not being able to defend set pieces. I know that they've got a lot of tall physical players that I mean, at this point, they were just kind of throwing caution to the wind. Any sort of set piece corner, they were throwing an extra man in the box. They were just kind of going for it. We knew that, but I just don't think we defended them very well. There's a lot. This became a regular theme, Dad, and you know, anyone that noticed this, again, put it in the chat. I just felt there was a lot of players just standing around, not really marking anyone, and not really doing anything. They were just very much ball watching. You know, I believe it's Milenković that puts the ball in the net in the end. But to allow him so close to goal to be free without anyone close to marking him, to be able to just tap that home, I just think it's really poor defending. Like, at that point, there weren't that many players that close to goal in the box. So one of them just needs to pick him up. If he's picked up, the ball doesn't go in. I don't know. I just thought a calamity of errors and poor defending has allowed that to go in. And it's very much a theme of players just not being at the races. Apart from the Shaw chance that you talked about, the header off the post, we were asleep. We were absolutely asleep, and it was something that became a common theme. A really poor goal to concede, and one that Forest didn't really have to work hard to get. That was kind of my thoughts on that. But what about you? What was your initial reaction to that?
Not a good one, because we were under the caution before that. Like, they were kept knocking on the door, and it's like, we're allowing them to get in here. You know, they're definitely going to score one. You could see it a mile off. You probably better off putting a bet on at that stage that they were going to be the ones that scored next, because it was just coming. But moving on, Forest is still on top, and Newcastle need to wake up. As you said, Pete, they were asleep. Subs come in at 68 minutes. Willock off, Tonali on, Murphy off, Barnes on. We needed something to get us back into get some control in the second half. More and more Forest chances as Newcastle try to slow the game to see it out. Bit much like Forest were doing when they were 1-0 up, trying to slow things down as well. But then you can ask yourself the question: okay, it's 4-2. Are we trying to see this out at this? Are we saving ourselves for Liverpool midweek? But there's still a job to be done to see this one out. Zoom forward to many heart and mouth moments to at the 85th minute, and Isak comes off and Wilson comes on. 89 minutes, Ryan Yates scores to make it 4-3. Blocked by Shar initially, and Yates finished it off. Then you really start to panic. Mate, Anthony, when they say on that one,
mate, I was panic stations at that point, because we were all over the place, defensively, midfield, all over the place. We were allowing them far too much time, far too much space. Again, Daz, it's another situation where, yes, great block by Shah, but the fact that Yates arrives in that position to score and nobody's near him. How can you allow an opposition player so close to goal to not be marked? I don't care whether you're playing zonal or not. You ensure that person that close to goal is marked, because if that ball falls to him, you've got someone on him to ensure that ball doesn't go into the net. Marking spaces at that point in the game isn't going to work. It's not going to work, because it's always going to potentially find its way to somebody. And if they're not marked, they're going to have time to swivel and put the ball in the net. That's exactly what he does. Yeah, I just honestly, at that point, I'm as close to the TV as you can possibly imagine. I'm screaming words that I don't want to repeat. I'm screaming when that ball goes into the net, and I'm going to be honest, as I was a little bit worried. I say a little bit.
So was
I was very worried, and the only thing that gave me a slight little bit of reprieve is the fact that at that point, when the ball goes in the net, the board goes up in 3 minutes. I'm like, get me to 3 minutes right now. Just end the game, done. Like I'm hoping that they go and celebrate and it chalks off another 40 seconds of that 3 minutes. Like mate, were you as worried as I was about this whole situation when that went into the net? Because I imagine I'm not the only one at that point. And people who were at the game, I know Lisa was at the game. Anyone else, put it in the chat how you were feeling at this point, because I was panic stations. Daz, tell us. Talk to us,
you know what? The person who bore the brunt of my frustration after that point was Wilson, because Wilson had come on the pitch and he had two runs that he could have taken it into the corner or passed it, and he just lost the ball and they came straight back up again. And you're going, what the fuck? It was like he was being greedy. He wanted his goal as well. Fair enough if he had got it, but he just see out the game at that point.
Selfish,
you're the same.
Selfish play. Now, for an experienced player at 32 years old, right, who's meant to be one of the leaders in the locker room, in the changing rooms, behind the scenes, that was not acceptable. That is not acceptable. And I would fully expect Eddie Howe to have had a word with him after the game to say, don't do that again. I'm sorry, Daz, you're absolutely right in what you said, because I thought exactly the same. I was going absolutely mental at Wilson. My wife thought Newcastle lost the game when that final whistle went. So I was still going mad at him when the final whistle went. How can you, when you have two situations where you're one-on-one, you've got a player either side of you on each one of those occasions that's busting their butt to get there? I think it's Tonali on the first one. It's definitely Gordon on the second. And all you have to do is square it. Now, I'm pretty confident that both of those boys are screaming for that ball. And all it takes is a little side foot across to any one of those players, and those players are in for at least a shot on goal. I'm not even saying they're going to guarantee to score, but it's at least a shot on goal, a direct shot on goal, whereas Wilson was never in a position for a direct shot on goal in either one of those situations. I think it's selfish play. I expected better from him. I expect him to be one for the team and not for himself. Of course, he's going to want to score. You know, he's going to get limited minutes between now and the end of the season, providing Isak stays fit, fingers crossed, touch wood. But you've got to think about the team in that situation. 4-3, we're under the cosh. We've got a chance to just end the game as a contest. Just release the ball. Honestly, I'm glad you mentioned that, Daz, because I was seething at the end of the game, absolutely seething. And I shouldn't have been. I should have been feeling relieved. I should have been going, yes, get in. We've got the win. Big win, must win. I'm finishing that game going, what are you doing, Callum Wilson? What are you doing in that situation? Sorry. Not good enough for me. Not good enough.
It was only at the time for me that I was raging with Wilson. After the final whistle, I was just kind of raging with the full team because how do they allow themselves to be pegged back so much? Because there was no need for it. That's what I wrote down here. Newcastle hanging on to the lead when they didn't need to. The game was done if they had played it correctly. But look at that, we did get the win, and it was 4-3 was the final score, which moves us up the table a bit as well, or keeps us in the running. But let's first look at the team photo with everyone there. There's more and more staff in these photos. I find the staff are like, you could nearly half of the staff.
I love it, Dad.
But
I love it.
it's funny. It's just funny. You could be anyone in there, but no, it's we might be in it actually when we're over in April. They might let us in the picture. But yeah, no, I always love seeing these photos. It means we've got a win. But Anthony, before we move to the table, Pete, Anthony, final thoughts on the result.
Look. We can critique the second half performance. We know we don't need to continue it on and have a massive discussion on it. That second half performance was a concern. Again, really poor. Question marks about can we play for 90 minutes is still there. It's as simple as that. We played for 45 minutes. However, when we were discussing this game last week in the build-up, the one thing we were saying, and everyone in the chat was saying, first things first, is that we are playing a must-win game. We're playing to win. And ultimately, we won the game in a must-win game. So we've got to take that and the fact that we got 3 points and we got out of there. Granted. But there are areas that we need to improve on. There's no doubt about it. We are not ready to tackle Liverpool in that cup final, seeing what they did today against Man City. We are not ready to tackle them in a cup final. There's still more work to do. We've got to go and play them next to Anfield. So there's still questions to be asked about these players and about this team. But got the win. We are in the table where you said. We keep moving forward. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Speaking about not turning up in the second half, we've got someone has joined us, decided to join us. I hope he has those dishes done. Welcome, Chris.
Hey!
Yay! Nice one.
How are we, boys? How are we?
Welcome to the party, Chris.
Yes, apologies for being late to the party. I will tell you after the show why I was late to the party. But yeah, tell you what, boys, we didn't half make hard work of that second half, didn't we? Jesus.
Yes.
You know what, Chris? I don't know. I've got one of these for you. Where were you?
That's a loaded question.
Yes, Daniel San. That is a loaded question.
Daniel San.
Is it something you can share with us, or you want to keep it till after the show? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, I will keep it till after the show. And when I tell you, you'll be like, yeah, I remember. It's nothing crazy. But you'll know what I mean. You'll know what I mean. But yeah, cool. Apologies for being late, everyone. In what was a really, I mean, just listening to what Pete said then, completely agree. It was all about the 3 points today. It absolutely was. But that second half was a little bit worrying, should we say. And I'll be honest, my expectations now for Wednesday are quite limited. I don't know about you boys, but I kind of want to just get that game out the way. I've just seen Sophie put in the chat there. We've got some favourable fixtures after Wednesday, and that's kind of how I'm feeling. Particularly after watching Liverpool against Man City, who just cast them aside like they weren't even competition. But no, great 3 points today. Glad we hung on in there. And yeah, I still think it's mad, Daz. I know you probably brought it up earlier because you were talking about the league table, but isn't it mad how tight the league table is?
We haven't gone there yet.
Oh, have you not? Sorry, I thought you were referring to it.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, we're going to go there now next, Chris. But yeah, no, it is mad. But and anything in the game you want to pick out, Chris, because you haven't had your chance to say anything about it. Anything that stands out for you as a good, your positive and negative moment from the game, apart from the obvious first and second half.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, the obviously first, second half. Positives from the game. I loved seeing Joe Willock out on that left wing. He spent a lot of time out on that left wing, and when he plays out on that left wing, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Pete put it in the chat. Absolutely brilliant at times today. caused Ola Aina all kinds of problems. So that was a real positive for me. I thought Louis Miley came in and did a really, really good job. We still forget, don't we, boys? He's 18 years old. I think he's 19 in May. And he played. I thought he played really, really well. Man of the match, Lewis Hall. Rightly so for me. I thought, over the course of the game, I thought he was really, really good. Great to see him. In terms of worries, other than the obvious second half thing, I felt, and Pete, again, you put it in the chat, didn't you? Like, I felt like we kept hold of possession far too much in our third, where the danger signs were there, and it was like, just get rid of the ball. But it was like, no, we're fine. And then we gave up a possession, sloppy. Daz, you were talking about it in the first half, in the first 20 minutes. I'd love to know how many times Jacob Murphy gave the ball away. Like, he just kept passing the ball, didn't he, to Forest? Almost as if to go, have another go, boys. Have another go. So, yeah, there were some concerns. I mean, that first half, we absolutely blew them away in about a 20, 25-minute period. And thank goodness, because, like I say, that second half, we just didn't show up. But there was so the pluses for me, mate, on the whole, Lewis Hall, Louis Miley, Joe Willock, Alexander Isak, they were the pluses for me today, I think. And then the minuses, I think just the team performance on a whole in that second half, that's what concerned me. I don't know, like the last 5 minutes were nail biting, because I was just thinking, please, just hang on. And when it was 4-2, Lisa was sat next to me and she was like, "Oh, a goal changes this, doesn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "It absolutely does." And then they scored, and it was just like, "Oh my God, just see this out. So in what should have been a very comfortable second half, turned into a very uncomfortable second half. And even though we were 3 goals to the good, it still didn't feel safe. So technically, we lost that second half 2-0. So that kind of shows the frailties, doesn't it? That shows that, we're seeing Jekyll and Hyde performances again. Really good first half, bar maybe the first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Then second half, just not a lot. And that's the most worrying thing for me going forward, I think.
Nice one, Chris. No, you nailed it there. Just a bit of housekeeping as well for anyone that's coming in. We're looking for 250 likes. There's nearly that actually in the chat now. So smash that like button and keep locked and loaded. And also now you'll see that Chris is here. Everything has moved up slightly. So when that disappears, you can see the QR codes for if you would like to buy us a beer, or if you'd like to take a look at the loaded shop. Just scan the QR codes on your phone and it'll take you directly to the website. Right, let's get into the table and have a look at that. So this is how the top 10 looks like now, with us sitting in 5th spot on 44 points, joint with Man City, who smashed us 4-0 last week, but we're joint on points with them. They have a slightly better goal difference, of course. But if we go down from ourselves, we've got Bournemouth, who are on 43, Chelsea, who are on 43, who got beaten by Villa yesterday, and Villa themselves are on 42. So, then go to Brighton, who are on a good run of late as well, getting some nice victories over Chelsea last week and continue their march as well. And Fulham, who dropped points this week. But yeah, it's so bunched there. And then look, we've clawed it back a bit on Nottingham Forest as well. So there's only 3 points between us and Forest. I think they go to Arsenal next, don't they? That's what Wolfie was saying before. And Arsenal dropping points against West Ham. But to me, I was saying this to you before the Liverpool Man City game. I said, let Liverpool win. Then they might take the foot off the gas a bit, hopefully. They probably didn't get any injuries or suspensions because I didn't watch all that game. But I know we go play them on Wednesday. But thoughts on the table, lads? Pete, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, it's been a great weekend of football for Newcastle United, that's for sure. I think there's only in the top 7, there's only us and Liverpool that have won, as you can see on the screen. And we needed it. We absolutely needed that win because we needed to continue to stay in the race, going above Bournemouth and Chelsea. Bournemouth have got positive fixtures pretty much all the way up till May. We can't afford to be dropping too many points or for them to be ahead of us for too long a period. Chelsea are going to be in and out. Chelsea's form are very sporadic, as you can see on their table at the moment. They're not playing well. They're probably the most disappointing thing out of it all is the fact that Villa and Chelsea, that Villa beat Chelsea. It puts them in that race, and it is incredibly tight there. You go back to all the way down to Fulham. Fulham have the capabilities of putting 2 or 3 wins together, and that can put them right in the race. And it's not quite done yet. We're in a positive position. But as we know, and as we've seen over the last few weeks, it can change very, very quickly. And the worry is, and this is why I kind of disagree with what Chris is saying, is that the worry is by Wednesday, the table can look very different for Newcastle United. And actually, we cannot afford to take our foot off the gas. We cannot afford to just stand and buy step Anfield on Wednesday. We have to go and play well. We have to go and get something from Anfield. We've put ourselves in this position. When you don't beat Bournemouth at home, when you don't beat Fulham at home, and you're fighting for Champions League, every game is important. We cannot afford to just sidestep Liverpool. I agree with what you're saying, Daz. I think there's an element of truth to that, in that them beating Man City again today will feel like for them that they've pretty much clinched the title, and that the title is well within grasp, and hopefully they take their foot off the pedal a little bit. But the fact that they don't have an FA Cup game at the weekend actually puts that in favour with them, and the fact that they can go and play at a little bit of a higher tempo, knowing they're probably going to get a bit of a rest. We don't have that luxury. We're in the FA Cup, which is where we want to be, but we can't afford to step off the pedal here. We need to keep going. Because every game is important now. And look, we've said it before, after Liverpool, we've got West Ham in the league and then some favourable fixtures that takes us past March into April. But it doesn't mean that we sidestep Anfield. We cannot afford to do that. We have to be 100 miles per hour and in that game. And more importantly, to sidestep Liverpool at Anfield, is that not going to send a negative mentality in that going into the cup final? If we go and be dismantled by Liverpool, that's not going to set us up mentally in the right capacity to go into a cup final up against them, knowing that they beat us comfortably, a matter of a week or two's before that. So there's a lot riding on this game on Wednesday, and Eddie Howe's got a lot of work to do in those next 3 days.
Chris, I'll go to your comments on the table.
Yeah, no, I see where Pete's coming from. I think maybe I'm putting up a defense mechanism because I just based on.
Are you doing an LB and a Wolfie?
I could be. I could be. Unconsciously, I could be. I don't know. These performances worry me, and I'm not talking obviously about that first half. I'm talking about the second half, and I want these players to be ready. I want them to be mentally ready, and yes, if we turn up and we do what we know we can do, and we do it across 90 minutes, can we go to Anfield and get something? Absolutely. I hadn't actually factored in what Pete said there about the FA Cup. I'd forgotten that obviously Liverpool won't have a fixture this weekend. So yeah, that will play to their advantage to a degree. So they probably can put a full strength team out. And I suppose it depends what way Liverpool look at it. Will they look at it and think, job's nearly done. We can kind of go into this and there's not too much pressure, or will they be going into it and thinking, right, let's put these to bed. Let's get this title wrapped up ASAP so that we can concentrate on the Champions League, so that we can concentrate on that Carabao Cup final. I don't know. But if we turn up and give the best, show our best selves, there's no reason why we can't go there and cause an upset. One thing that this weekend in particular has shown to me is how tight it is, because I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Oh, there'll be a gap forming soon. And then you'll clearly see, where teams are breaking off, and that gap just isn't appearing. I mean, when you think, boys, there's 8 points difference between 3rd and 10th, and that at this stage of the season, that's not a lot. It really isn't. And I think all it takes, which we've done, and we won 10 out of 12, didn't we? We know that we can do it. If we go and win 3 or 4 games on the bounce, all of a sudden we're really setting ourselves up nicely. And I was just thinking when Pete was talking then, we've got 12 games left. And I'm thinking if we win 75% of our games, so I'm asking for 9 wins, maybe too much, I don't know. But 9 wins would be 27 points. Now that would put us on 71 points. Now, is that too much? Arguably, you could say yes. So even if we said, right, we've got to win half of our games would be 6. So then that would be 18 points. 18 points would put us on 62. And then obviously you'd hope for a few draws here and there. If we can find a sweet spot between winning half our games and 75% of our games, we're in that Champions League conversation. We're absolutely in it, because as we all know, we probably got to finish in the top 5 this season to qualify for the Champions League. I was quite pleased with the Villa-Chelsea results, I'm not going to lie, because yes, I wanted a draw. Draw would have been the best outcome all round. But if I wanted anyone to win, it would have been Villa. And the reason being is because I don't have faith in this Chelsea team at all. I do think they're on a bit of a wobble. Their number ones are, well, I said number ones. Their goalkeepers are absolutely shocking, and they're costing them points week in, week out. I don't think they've got a settled back line. Cole Palmer's not informed. They've got no out-and-out striker. I actually think Villa. I think Villa have more potential to kick on than Chelsea, but I think Villa have got that Champions League distraction. I think I said to you boys, Chelsea don't really have a European distraction as such, because every time they play in the Conference League, they tend to play a different 11, don't they? I don't know, boys. I don't know. I'm really, really pleased with the 3 points today, and it's such a massive win that pulls us nearer to Forest. But looking at that league every time, I feel like I flip flop every single show. I feel like I flip flop in that I don't know. I don't know where we are. I don't know whether we can get it. I believe we can get top 5, and I think we are capable of it. But I just worry when I see second half performances like that. I mean, I obviously I missed the first part of the show with you boys, but is that roughly how you're feeling, or are you feeling confident from today in that we've secured the 3 points, or how are you feeling post match when you boys started talking about it and obviously looking at the table now?
Not gonna lie, Chris, I'm gonna borrow that one again. I'm half tempted to be going back to that Champions League music one, but it's way too soon yet. Okay, I think I know what you're saying with your maths there on getting to on winning 6 games out of the 12, but I think we're going to need win more to guarantee a top 5 finish and Champions League football, because 5th I think will get us Champions League football. But I think again, harping back to Eddie Howe's line, I think it's game by game. Just focus on this. Try and get something now. I know it's going to be difficult going to Anfield, but why not go for it? And I'm hoping that they have taken the foot off the gas a bit. Then whatever happens, again, focus in on Brighton and the FA Cup, and then into West Ham, which is getting very close. Then. I don't know the fixtures for I could be missing something there, but very, very close to that the League Cup final. So each game as it comes, and let it take care of itself. Then I'm not boxing off. Oh, we need to win a certain amount, because it keeps chopping and changing each week. And I know you said it in our chat, Chris. Oh, you thought we would be a bit further ahead now because of that, but it's so close. It is entertaining for everybody to watch, I guess. But it's also nail biting when you're in the mix for it. I think it's going to get really down to the wire stuff coming towards the end of April. And the spreadsheets will be out and enforced just to see if we win here, or if we drop here, and where we think things are going to go. So, no, that's just my thoughts on it. But I'm just going to enjoy this one first, and I'm looking forward to Top Table Talk, as I was saying to Pete earlier, as is Rich as well. Rich from Villa Park Pod is looking forward to it as well. He's got his shades ready for that one. Yeah. Boys, we'll go to some questions.
Yeah. Some questions on here. I'll just work through them from the beginning. John says, do you think our aging defence is now our main weakness? Shaw, Burn, Trippier, in my opinion, they need to go in the summer. And Wilson, we have many players in their 30s, need to be ruthless.
I'll answer here first, Chris. Yeah, I think squad game will definitely be needed in around the April time as well, maybe towards the latter end of April. But of those mentioned, Shah, I think is getting a new contract as far as I heard. I don't know, has he got that yet? He'd be okay. Squad player first. Byrne, I think he's quality still. Trips, I think, yeah, he could be on his way out, but we need him this season to get us over to finish this season out. Wilson, definitely, for me, is one that has to go, especially after what we saw that last five minutes that we talked about. Yeah, you were shaking your head as well, Chris.
Mate, he looks so off the pace. So off the pace.
Bring it into the corner, pass it. Don't just take a shot and lose it. But anyway. You want to say on this one, Chris?
Do you know what, mate? For me, dead quick one. I think these players have got a value in this squad, but they shouldn't be starting week in, week out. We know that we need a new right centre back who can eventually replace Fabian Schär. We know that Sven Botman's been brought in to be the first choice left centre back, so he would, automatically replace Dan Burn long term. Kevin Trippier, you rightly said, Daz, he's such a good leader, and I think for this season he's gonna pay dividends, and I hope he does, because we know he's still quality. He is still quality, but long term, do we want to keep him? Probably not. And Callum Wilson, yeah, I mean, when he's fit and firing, he's certainly got a place in the squad, but he shouldn't be in the starting 11. And to be fair, he's not in the starting 11 he's behind Alexander Isak. So those players, I wouldn't necessarily get rid of them all, because they will add value to this squad, but they shouldn't be playing week in, week out in the starting 11. And I think that's evidence.
Okay. Tom says, lads, why does Howe always sit back and defend the lead when we have a bad defense and a brilliant attack? What do we think about that one?
I don't think he did. I think it just switched off. Even listening to him and a few of the words he said, the clip I saw, he was totally dismayed by what he saw in that second half, because they did exactly what he asked of them in the first half. They played with the intensity, and even though going to go behind, they came at them and threw the kitchen sink at them, but just fell apart and just sat back. I don't know. I don't think he told them to go defend the lead or play defensive, because he may change the formation as well if he was thinking of going that way. It's just the way it played out. It's a mental thing again.
Chris, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I don't really think. I mean, I don't know what you boys have already said on this, but I wouldn't necessarily blame Eddie Howe for that, because we came out with exactly the same team in the second half, and yes, we made subs, which we were all screaming for in the end, but nothing changed. And I don't think Eddie Howe has gone into the dressing room at half time and gone, boys, that was brilliant. But now can we just sit back? I just don't think he did that. So I don't know whether it's a mentality thing, whether it's the players running out of steam, whether it's the players thinking, we don't want to be too gung-ho because we don't want to concede. And then when we do concede, they then panic and think, let's just retreat. I don't know, but I wouldn't necessarily hang it on Eddie Howe's door, if I'm honest, the blame. I wouldn't for that, because if he'd made 2 or 3 changes and changed the formation, and, maybe you could blame him then, but he didn't. Everything stayed exactly the same. It was just the fact that the performance changed. But I don't know. Pete, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, you're not muted.
I wouldn't put it necessarily on Eddie Howe sitting back. I think the players need to take responsibility for that. Where I would say, from Eddie Howe's perspective, is that he probably could have made changes earlier. He could have made those substitutions earlier. It was clear that we needed a change, that something needed to happen. He did make them eventually, but he maybe could have done it 5-10 minutes earlier on in the game. and bring Sandro Tonali on. For me, I said it to you, Daz, earlier. Nobody's clarified really the situation with Sandro Tonali. I mean, someone put in the chat that he might have had a thigh strain. Well, if he's got a thigh strain, don't play him. The fact that he came on the pitch and looked like he wasn't managing an injury at all, and he was putting himself about, getting stuck in, says to me that he was fit. And if he was fit enough to play. He's fit enough to play 25 minutes. He's fit enough to play 45 minutes. He's probably fit enough to play 60 minutes. Ultimately it worked out because of our first half performance, but I think we needed Sandro Tonali just settling things down. You could see when he came onto the pitch, he was organising his one-touch play, just settled things down a little bit better. We managed to get hold of possession a little bit better. I just think it's not necessarily on how. I think the subs, but the players need to take responsibility there. That drop-off is crazy. You could argue it, in my opinion, you could argue it with Eddie Howe if he'd have made that starting lineup and the starting lineup would have played like that. If the starting lineup in the first half had played like they did in the second half, from the beginning of the match, you could argue that it's Eddie Howe's responsibility. But the fact if they've come in, Miley's come in, Willock's come in, and we had question marks, everybody did about that midfield, and they came out and was brilliant in that first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
The question mark has to be on the players. Why have they played so well in that 45 minutes and then so poorly in the second half? They were out there doing the job that Eddie Howe wanted them to do. They've just not done it. So I don't necessarily put it on Eddie Howe. I think there's a natural mentality of the players. I think they thought, job done. Let's save ourselves for Wednesday. And I think it's come back to bite them on the backside. I think that's what it is. Because when you sit into a saving yourself, I'm going to sit on a lead mentality, and all of a sudden Forest get a goal and they start attacking like mad. It's very hard to get yourself out of that and get back into let's kick back into gear. It's not easy to do. And that's on the players. That's not necessarily on the manager. But I definitely would question the manager on making those subs early. But that's just me. Lee Jones says, after watching Pope today, is the deal to get Trafford over the line in the summer a priority? What are your thoughts about that, boys?
Yeah, I was going to put it in our own chat. I can't wait to see Trafford play for us because I was you were watching you were watching the Premier League game that was on the Friday night, but I decided to watch the Burnley game instead because I think that it was gone out for it, and did a bit of scouting on James Trafford, and a guy called John Joe Shelby did well as well, and he came on with a cameo for the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so. But he looked really, really good. Another clean sheet for him, and just ball at his feet. His clearance has found touch at 2 occasions, but apart from that, he looked super and made some nice saves. So looking forward to us eventually getting James Trafford to Newcastle. I don't know. I wouldn't be disappointed to see Dubs go back in goal again. To tell you the truth, doesn't fill me with confidence. Pope, he made some good catches, all right, but it's going to be a ding-dong battle between the two of them for the next little while. And Popey and Dubs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Lee, I didn't need to see Pope today to know that getting Trafford over another goalkeeper in the summer as a priority. I've seen enough of Pope to think that. I mean, I'm sure you boys probably touched on this, but that first goal for me was just unbelievable.
Position.
Oh, mate, like it was so poor. But I'm not here to bash Pope. But we do need a number one in the summer. James Trafford's performing exceptionally well for Burnley, and I think, like we've all said before, it makes perfect sense. If we need to clear the decks a little bit goalkeeper wise, why not offer Burnley Nick Pope back and take a little bit of the fee off the Trafford deal? Burnley are happy, Newcastle are happy. It just makes sense. It just makes absolute sense. We do need a new number one in the summer, and And seemingly, Martin Dubravka is going to be sticking around, unless, of course, we've signed him up to a new contract to get a fee for him in the summer. Who knows? But if he is sticking around, then Martin Dubravka will most probably be the number 2 going forward, and then we bring in the number 1. That's how I see it.
Pete, we have to get your comment on
we do actually, there. On the goalie.
Who would you want to see in goal for the Liverpool game on Wednesday?
I'm with Nobby on this one. I think the pylon Pope is a bit dramatic. I have to agree on that. I thought, yes, I've talked about it before. I thought it was really poor positioning for the first goal, absolutely. But other than that, I can't see anything he did wrong for the rest of the game, if I'm being honest with you. I thought
I agree with that.
I thought he commanded his box really well. He came out and made 2 or 3 big punches. He came out and made 2 or 3 big collections in the second half to take the pressure off the defence. The 2 goals, he's really got nothing he can do. They've been able to swivel and shoot from like 2 yards out of goal. There's not really that much he can do for those 2 goals that he's conceded. It looks bad because it's 3 against Newcastle United on the board, but for me, Pope is only responsible for 1 of them. I don't think his kicking was too bad today. I don't think his distribution was bad today. I thought he made a bad mistake for the first goal, and I think that's what people have got in their mind, that all of a sudden he's had a bad game because he made that one mistake. He did, but you could argue in the last 3 or 4 games, Martin Dubravka's made 3 or 4 major howlers, which is why I think Eddie Howe's made that decision to bring him in. I think we all know that we need probably 2 new goalkeepers. That goes without saying. Pope is going to be 33 or maybe 34, one of the 2. It's time to cash in on him if we're smart. And from a business point of view, it makes sense to move him on. James Trafford is going to be the England number 1 goalkeeper. He is going to take over from Jordan Pickford as England's number 1. He's been prepped for it. I wouldn't even be surprised to see James Trafford play in the next England internationals. I wouldn't be surprised at all. He is the future. Go get him. But for me, other than the first goal, I didn't really see a problem for Nick Pope, and I fully expect him to be in goal against Liverpool. There will be games that are, and this is the thing, it's the same situation for me with Trippier and Tino Livramento. There are going to be some games this season that are going to be best suited for Martin Dubravka because he's a better kicker. But there are going to be some games like today where you've got big, tall, strapping centre-backs forwards that balls are going to get lumped in the box where you are going to need Nick Pope to come out and command the area a bit more. Because Martin Dubravka just sits on his line all the time. He doesn't command his area. And I think Eddie Howe is going to have to be selective on who he plays in which game. And I've not got an issue with that. In some games that Dubravka's better suited for some games, and some games Nick Pope is better suited. And today, Nick Pope was absolutely better suited for this, because I have to be honest, I think there's probably a few more goals that would have been scored by Forest had he been in goal today. But that's just my sort of personal opinion on this.
We can use it as I know it's not a we can kind of use it as kind of an audition as well for him for how he would hold up in the cup final. I guess like he didn't get that chance the last time around the cup final. He did pass the ball out at one stage to a Forest player, but it came straight back at him, and nothing came out. So we were lucky in that one. But look at Dubravka does that as well. So it's. Yeah, stick with him for the Liverpool game, then assess then after that.
For what it's worth, I think Pope starts in the final, but that's just me. That's what I think Eddie Howe will do. I think Pope will start.
As soon as you start talking about getting the Dubravka jersey, Pete, you changed. Move on.
There will be some games where Dubravka will be better suited. Like I'm not saying Dubravka should be out and he's this, that, and the other. I'm just saying. I'm giving my interpretation of what I think Eddie Howe is doing here. Yeah. I'm not against it, because for me, I said it to you boys separately in the chat, I think the only thing that Dubravka is better at than Nick Pope is his distribution with the ball. I think commanding of the area, shot stopping in general, and all the key in terms of handling the ball, Nick Pope is by far better than Dubravka. So they've got different strengths. And for different strengths, you're going to need different goalkeepers in different games. Someone in the chat has put that Martin Dubravka wasn't at fault for any one of the Man City goals. He definitely was. The second one for sure. The first one definitely, because his positioning, he was in no man's land. There's just two examples. He is responsible for some of these goals that we're conceding, and that's ultimately why I think he's been pulled out of the team.
I think just to add in, Pete, I think it's dodgy. I think it's dodgy playing with Pope, though, if you've got a high pressing team, a team who like to sit on the edge of the box, on the edge of your 18-yard box and press, because we've seen it loads of times, where you pass back to the goalie and you've got to pass out to the right back, pass out to the left back. As soon as the players are starting to pass back to Nick Pope, the whole stadium goes panicky, because there was occasions, I'm trying to think who it was against recently, and the ball was getting passed back to Martin Dubravka, and you could see that everyone was like, it's fine. Just a little simple pass out, take your time, pick a pass. That's where Nick Pope struggles for me most, when you've got a high pressing team, a team that are just badgering you on the edge of the box constantly. And unfortunately, Liverpool are one of those teams. But I like you, I think he'll probably stick with Pope for the foreseeable.
It's a swings and roundabout situation, because you're right. A high pressing team is likely to put pressure on you with the ball at your feet. Absolutely. However, with that type of team, they are going to likely to be quick in and behind, particularly against a very slow defensive unit. So what you also need is a goalkeeper that's very good at sweeping. And other than the red card against Liverpool 2 years ago, Pope has been by far a better sweeper than any of our goalkeepers at the club. So that's another reason and another argument in respect to that as to why you would possibly pay Nick Pope on top of that. So it is very much a balancing act, because he's not good with the ball at his feet, and he does invite pressure, and teams know now that he's not good on the ball, so they are going to pressure him a little bit more. But on the flip side of that, if you get a ball in and behind, and they're trying to play it long over your slow centre backs, you've got a goalkeeper that's going to actually use his area, whereas Dubravka doesn't, and that sometimes invites more pressure on. So, like I say, it swings and roundabouts in this situation. But
it does.
Wolfie is not a happy man. He did ring me after the game, and yes, he is very much a frustrated figure at the moment. Not in a good place. He is worried about his Champions League position for Nottingham Forest, and he thinks Arsenal are going to beat him on Wednesday. I actually think Arsenal are going to lose on Wednesday. I think Forest will win.
I think Forest will beat them. So
same.
Even more.
Sorry, Pete. Did Wolfie give you a message from Chris? I thought you gave him a message, Chris.
When we dialed in, I think me, you, and Daz were all in the Forest Fan TV chat, weren't we, at half time? And I was watching it because someone had put it in the link, so I was watching it, and then Pete rang Wolfie half time, and Wolfie was going on. I think that's what you were referring to. And then I said, "Tell Pete," I said hi, but he missed the super chat while you were on the phone.
Okay, no, I got you. He's not in a good place right now. He mentioned some interesting things to me that he's not going to say live because it will cause an absolute pile-on. But he's been getting some stick from Forest fans because of his critical opinions on Nuno. He's. But I think he's right. Well, I don't know if he's quite there, but he's very frustrated about the situation with them. The argument is basically there's a lot of Forest fans that took heart from that game and actually thought they played well second half, whereas Wolfie actually didn't think they played well second half. It was the fact that Newcastle just stopped playing, which I agree with it. I think it was very much that. I don't think Forest played well at all, but I think it was the fact that they looked better because they had more possession.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Because Newcastle just stopped playing. I think you go into the last pots and knock into the game. Whenever we put 2 or 3 passes together, we were in. We were causing problems. So I think he's getting a little bit of stick for that. But Wolf is all good.
Just to add in, really good point you make there, mate. Just to add in, and I hate to talk about the alliance or the allegiance, but is this true? I think it probably is fair to say it's true. I mean, don't tell Wolfie. You say that's true?
Probably is true.
It probably is true, isn't it?
We do. You see, this is the thing, because if Forest win and we don't, then the gap's back to 6 points again, and we're then back to chasing Forest. So, you know, this is why this game at Anfield is so important. And equally, if Arsenal went to Forest and won, and we somehow, by some miracle, beat Liverpool, we're on the same points as them. And that drags them right into the mix with us. And it just adds another team to that mix, which actually could help us in the long run. I was going to wait, but I'll just put this up really quickly. And then we're going to ask some questions. And the reason being is because I just wanted to show this. You talked about it earlier. You talked about fixtures. Okay.
Yeah.
And we talked about certain. I think you were talking about, Chris, some certain amount of wins. I think you mentioned.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it.
These are our next few fixtures. Okay, looking up until April. Now, forget these two here. Although I think we can win this one. I think we can win both if we're on it, but that one less likely. I think we can definitely win that one. But look at these fixtures here: 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 3 out of 4 home fixtures there. Leicester, who are getting beat left, right, and centre. If you're looking at 6 wins to potentially get you Champions League football, or certainly guarantee you Europe, this is where you get 4 of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely, this is where we should be targeting 4 wins here. And look, Brentford are playing really well, but at St. James's Park, we know we're capable of beating any team if we're on it. Leicester away. Most teams are going there and winning. Leicester look down and out. We should be. They're in the bottom 3. We should be winning that game at King Power. They just give too many chances. Man United are there for the taking. Goes without saying. We're going to be there, so we're going to win. And then we've got the rearranged Wednesday fixture. Now we're in the FA Cup of Palace. Like if we targeting those 3 games, that's. Aside from the fact that those 2 games there, if we target those 4 games and we get 4 wins from that puts us almost there. Okay,
my only thing, Pete, is, and honestly, they're the ones coming after us. It's just a fixture congestion there, and I know maybe it's the same for let's say Palace, that they have a quick turnaround as well. I'm sure after that weekend, but with that rearranged one, but it's just. We haven't coped well with that in the past either, and so something we need to cope with it. We need to be able to swap players in and out as well. This is where we're going to need the likes of Wilson to step up and be able to take Isak off at us, be ahead and be able to take him off, and Wilson to see out the game, and likewise maybe Gordon is one of the fittest players anyway, but Barnes maybe to give a bit of respite to either Murphy or Gordon, and so on and so forth. The bottom, and you'd imagine, is back as well, so we could alter the defensive bit as well. So we're just going to need to and it's Eddie's problem, but we need to manage things really well to get those wins that we need in that group of fixtures.
Do you know what else is key for me as well? And Pete, you're talking about the first game being on the 2nd of April. That Brentford game. Casting aside the West Ham game for now, let's not forget, boys, the Carabao Cup final's done. The outcome is done at this point. So we've either won it, brilliant, or we've lost it, and it's like, okay, get over it now. Hopefully we're still in the FA Cup, but let's focus on the league. So we've got an opportunity there. We've got 4 very winnable games there. Yeah, I said earlier, Pete, we had 12 games left. So 6 wins is half of our fixtures. So you'd like to think we'd get 6 wins between now and the end of the season. And I think we're on 44 points, if I'm right in saying. So 6 wins will put us on 18, which would then put us on 62 points. Yeah. If we just got 6 wins and 6 losses. But I'm hoping for more, and I'm sure you boys are as well. So yeah, 6 wins puts us on 62 points. But you're right, mate. Let's have a look at the rest of the fixtures and see where the other wins are.
We've got Villa away, which will obviously be a tough fixture. Ipswich at home.
Yeah.
And then we come into the final knock-ins, which is a tough running of fixtures. But still, there's some winnable games there, like Brighton. are very hit and miss away from home. We're not great at travelling there. Chelsea, we've got a good record of them at St James's Park. Arsenal away, is their season going to be done and dusted? Probably by then.
So, yeah.
So what type of Arsenal are we going to be playing at that point? And then, of course, we've got Everton, who are in a great vein of form at the moment, but that's not to say they're going to be playing in the same way by the time May comes around. And that's our last home game of the season. We're going to obviously want to finish strong at St James's Park. So there are still, outside of those four, for me, if I'm looking at those set fixtures there, I'm looking at Ipswich, I'm looking at Chelsea, I'm looking at Everton. There's still 3 wins that I can still potentially target out of those set of fixtures there. So, you're then adding to a potential 7 wins that you'd want to target. That's without looking at West Ham. That's 8. There's still 8 games there that you target that you think we're more than capable of winning. And that's not to say we can't win again at Arsenal. That's not to say that we can't win at Brighton. There's same with Villa as well. Villa are hit and miss. They're playing well. They play. I say they play well. They're playing okay against Chelsea.
The 19th of April.
You don't know what mentality they're going to be in going into that game as well. Are they going to be Champions League focused? Are they going to be distracted by that? If they're even still in it, possibly are. There's lots of question marks around it, but I don't think we're in as bad a position as it may well seem.
No, I don't think so either. And like Arsenal could be, the league would probably be sewn up by that stage, and they could be assured of Champions League spots. So they may be focused on something else. Let's say come that time as well. We come to play them towards the end of the season. So I think it's hard to look too far ahead though for me yet, because but I agree with it. There's definitely winnable fixtures along. There's plenty of them. So one game at a time.
That 19th of April, just to add in, the 19th of April is the match against Villa.
Yeah.
So on the 16th of April, we have Palace at home. That's the rearranged fixture. But on the Tuesday, the 15th, if Villa are still in the Champions League, they would be playing either PSG or Liverpool if they get through Bruges. So that's going to play a big factor.
There's a high chance they could be playing Champions League football, so it's likely that they're going to be playing that night. So, and we know what they're like after a Champions League game.
Yeah. And this is going back to what Daz said, Pete. This is where the squad rotation comes in as well, where Eddie Howe might need to kind of trust these players like your Harvey Barneses, your Callum Wilsons, your Will Asulas, your Sean Longstaffs, your Kieran Trippiers, and you bring them in, you rest a couple of the lads and go, right, you're playing against Palace midweek. Go and show me why I should play you week in, week out, and you rest a couple of your big hitters. Now, every game's important, and I'm not suggesting we play, a weaker team. But what I'm saying is, if there's a fixture pile up, it's like, well, these players should be able to do enough for you. They should be able to come in and put a shift in. And particularly if we're playing, like this high intensity, high press stuff, if you bring in fresh lads in and go and perform, go and show me why you should be playing week in, week out. Go and play for your future. We've got a big summer coming up. It's games like that where you'd need to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, they're all going to need to play a part. I mean, I've seen a few people say Harvey Barnes did play well when he came on. I don't think he was really in the game. We were under the cosh most of the time. I think he had one counter-attacking run in that whole period. I don't think that's necessarily down to him, but he's only just come back. He's going to need more minutes. That was his first game back since his injury. He's going to need more minutes under his belt. Callum Wilson's going to need more minutes under his belt, albeit I haven't really seen too much from him to suggest that he's going to make a massive difference. I don't put too much emphasis on Callum Wilson. For me, I'm just glad that he's not injured. And it sounds really harsh. And I'm being serious. You know how much I love Callum Wilson, but I'm just glad he's not injured because I'm looking at him right now and he doesn't look the same player to me. He doesn't look the same Callum Wilson. I looked at that. There was a moment not long after he'd come on where the ball's been knocked up to him and he's trying to hold the ball up, and Murillo just absolutely
pushed down.
Moves ease
like he's not there.
Yeah, and Callum Wilson
like him
stops and looks around as if to say, "What's going on here?" Like he literally just got manhandled. And it was with ease. And normally he's doing that to centre backs, and that worries me because that's part of his game that's meant to be a key part of his game, and he just got dismantled quite easily like that. Whether he's, I don't know.
And he's fresh. He's only on the pitch a couple of minutes at that stage. Like Murillo's already played 87 minutes at that stage. So
yeah,
we need. He was brought on to hold up the ball, and to allow us to play further up the pitch. So him being dismantled like that was not a good sign. But look, in his more minutes in the bank, hopefully we'll see more of this. Question from Lynn. Crafty in for sure. I mean, I imagine she means Emil Kraft. Would you do that on Wednesday? Would you make a shot?
I think Char did okay. He again the long range passed me a bit today. No, I can't fault Char today. The last day, yes, but no. It's a massive game to bring in Kraftku. So no, I'd stick with Char unless Botman's back. Then it's a different game. It's a different story. Then it'd be Botman and Byrne for me if we're going to play that same 4-3-3. But maybe it's a time for the 5-2-3 for this one at Anfield. And then if we were to go behind, we switch it up then to the 4-3-3 and go gung ho. But I'd be more sit back on this one.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Daz. I think I wouldn't necessarily drop Shaw, but if Lynn's wanting Krafu in, let's say Botman isn't ready. Hopefully he is ready. But if he wasn't ready, I do think the game at Anfield is the perfect game to be playing your 5-2-3. And if you're putting Krafu in at right centre back, next to the likes of Shaw and Byrne, if Botman's not back, we could see Krafu come in definitely. But yeah, that's that. I wouldn't put Kraft in replacement of Shaw in a 4-3-3 at this moment. I just wouldn't.
What do you make about this comment? Byrne was dreadful today, I thought. Do you think he was bad? Did you think he had a bad performance today?
No, he didn't. He didn't stand out as having a bad performance for me. And I didn't pin. I didn't look too much at their goals. I was just panicking, to tell you the truth. So I didn't look back at them again. But no, I'm not blaming Byrne for anything today.
I wouldn't say he was bang at it, but I wouldn't equally. I didn't finish the game and think bloody hell, Byrne was dreadful. Then I didn't think that. Has he had better games? Yeah, but I think you'd probably say that about most players, and particularly in that second half. But no, he didn't stand out as being dreadful for me today. I don't think he probably could have done better in a few moments. But again, I could say that about a few players.
He got on in some good tackles in the first half, I think. Yeah, no, sorry, just thinking back. Move on.
Byrne didn't stand out to me as having a bad game. I thought there was a couple of times he spent too long on the ball in the second half and didn't get the ball out of his feet quick enough. That invited pressure. The one thing I'll say in positive to Dan Byrne, and to be fair, Wolfie talked about this when he called me earlier. Byrne won every single header against Chris Wood. Everything that went pumped long in the air, Dan Byrne won every single header. Chris Wood was not in the game at all. And considering he's their top goal scorer and their only major goal threat in that game, I thought that was well managed by him alone. I thought he managed it really fantastically well. So fair play to him for that. The other parts of the game, I didn't really notice anything that stood out apart from him just distributing the ball. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Some positives. The Bidder 2 fan said Botman needed, absolutely. If he's even got a chance of being fit for Wednesday, play him. If not, save him for Brighton. The FA Cup's still important, boys. We still need to win that.
Yeah.
Win that on Sunday. We're one game away from a semi-final again at Wembley. So let's get ourselves in the hat. Botman needed.
Just to add into that, Pete, just a little extra. There was a couple of moments today watching the Liverpool-Man City game, and I remember just thinking, our left-hand side has got to be spot on. Our left-hand side has got to be spot on midweek against Liverpool. You stop Salah, you're stopping a large chunk of their team. He's at times Salah is absolutely unplayable. You give him half a yard, you'll get punished. You will get
for
punished.
1 second.
Yeah, we've got to ensure that left-hand side is sorted. So whether it's the 5 at the back, the 4 at the back, if we do play the 4 at the back, Lewis Hall needs protection. We can't leave Lewis Hall up 1-on-1 against Salah, because if Salah gets through, and then he's just got to get past Bain, assuming Bain's in position, we've got to be ready for it. We really, really have. We're going to need that left central midfielder constantly tucking in. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
If you're gonna want protection for Lewis Hall, you need Joe Linton to provide that protection. He's the only one in this team that provides proper protection for Lewis Hall down that side. We need him back. It's as simple as
boys. Right, I'm going to go back to the person who gave us the question, Afromans. Who is this person with the spanner? Who were you before you changed your name? Is my question.
Is it Marco Pomar?
Is it?
Got a similar picture.
Identify yourself. It could be. It might be.
It must be.
I'm sure he's got a similar
with this color.
I think it's a similar picture. His profile picture is the same. I'm sure it is Marco Pomar.
Let us know. Sure. Yes, he says yes. It is. Welcome, Michael.
Michael.
We see so many on there. We get to know the profile pictures and various others from the chat when we're in there. So welcome, Michael Pomar. But Botman is needed, that is for sure. Yano says on a positive note, Hall was immense, which he absolutely was. Man of the match, in fact. And just to add on Michael Pomar, he put another point in it. Hall was excellent throughout, which we just mentioned. What did you make of Tino? Michael says Tino made too many little errors. What did you boys make of his game overall?
That one I remember where he was running through and he lost the ball at one stage. He was like, if you released it earlier, he didn't need to get us into that trouble. But it's hard. It's hard on Tino because Hall is playing so out of his skin, and then it kind of shows up Tino a bit in a way. Tino is not having as good a season as he did last year, but. And he did get that yellow card. He didn't deserve that yellow card, actually, that he got. I thought that Eddie might bring on trips as well at one stage when we needed that kind of leadership to shore up the defense and talk them all through it. But so didn't have his best game, Tino, in all.
What do you think, Chris?
I thought Lewis Hall was outstanding. We can clear that one up. I thought Tino had a pretty decent game. As Daz rightly said, there was a few moments, and I think that was the one I was referring to when I first came on, where we kept hold of the ball, and it was like, give the ball, get rid of the ball. And he just kept traveling. You could see the player coming up behind him, and you're thinking, just get rid of it. And then when he was dispossessed, it was like you could see it, you could hear the crowds like saying to him, get rid of it. I think sometimes Tino can keep hold of the ball too long. It's good in that he feels comfortable on it, but at the same time, be a little bit more aware around you. I don't agree with what Michael Pomar said about the two centre halves being dreadful. To me, like I said before, I didn't look at that game and think, oh bloody hell, Charlotte and Bain had a nightmare there. I didn't really see that. There was a couple of moments, again, as I talked about before, where I thought they could have done better. I think Bain gave away possession, didn't he? It was in that second half, and then he had to make a last-ditch tackle, which was a very good tackle, but he put himself in that position and he didn't need to do it, and could have quite easily given the pen away if he'd timed it wrong, but thankfully he timed it spot on. But and heavily, Pete, as you rightly say, he gave Chris Wood very, very little throughout the game. So I wouldn't say both centre halves were dreadful, but equally, I really want to see Sven Botman back on this team.
Definitely. Sven Botman needs to be back as soon as possible. Interesting comment here from Christopher. This was in relation to when we were talking about the 2 goals that we conceded from sort of set plays and not marking people in the box. He's put it. Christopher's put, it's our captain for that goal. I think I'm not sure if it's the second or the third goal. He's great, but lacks concentration at times. Did you notice any lacks of concentration in Bruno's performance? What did you make of Bruno in general today?
I suppose Bruno moved back into kind of 6 today with Tonali on the bench, and Miley was kind of more playing where Bruno plays up until Tonali came on, and then Bruno pushed up again. He didn't do anything spectacular, Bruno, today for me, to tell you the truth. But I find it hard to criticize Bruno. I just know him. But I'm not seeing the best of him recently, to tell you the truth.
I thought Bruno was anonymous at times today. I felt like I wanted him to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he didn't quite do that. We saw Joe Willock, making all those fantastic runs the first half. We saw Louis Miley, bypassing his younger years, really grabbing hold of the ball, making the simple passes, making the team tick. And I kind of wanted that from Bruno, and I didn't really see it. There was a moment in the second half late on where he made the tackle in the far corner, and he's screaming for the crowd to get up. And I'm thinking, give the crowd something to get up for. Give the crowd something to get up for, and the crowd might get up. I know he wanted the crowd to push the team, but based on that second half, you can see why the crowd was so flat, why they were so nervous, why they were so, null of, cheering and chanting, because the players on the pitch weren't delivering. They weren't giving the crowd something to get excited about. And I know Bruno was trying to orchestrate that, but I kind of felt like I wanted more from Bruno, particularly that second half. And you look to your captain in those difficult moments when you're struggling. You look to your captain, and I kind of felt I saw more of that from Sandro Tonali when he come on. I know Sandro's not captain, but you know what I mean. Like Sandro, he came on and he was that level-headed player. He was that guy who was, trying to orchestrate things, trying to calm everyone down. And sometimes with Bruno, I feel like he lacks that a little bit. When everything's going well, brilliant. But when it's not going so well, I feel like Bruno kind of merges into everybody else, and it's like, no, you need to stand up. You need to go levels above, like we see from Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier he'll try and lift the team, and I feel like sometimes Bruno doesn't always do that. Bruno technically is absolutely brilliant, but I do feel at times like I want more from him, and I think as captain, he's got to try and, I don't know whether it's about trying to drag the team forward. I don't know, but I just feel like I don't think today was one of Bruno's best games. I really don't.
Yeah, Bruno doesn't. He's not the same when he plays in the 6. I think that's obvious now. With Sandro Tonali been playing there, I don't think he looked comfortable today playing in that position. Having played in the 8 for so long and looking really kind of at it, he didn't look comfortable today playing there. But I think there's some valid points in there. I think, when you need a rise, you need your captain to take responsibility in that situation. He tries to with his passion and getting things up from the crowd. I understand that the crowd needs something to get up behind, but we're winning and we want to hold on to that win. And he's trying to get the crowd going because he knows the crowd getting behind them will give the rest of the players an extra 5 and 10%. And they didn't really give him that today. I spoke to a few fans that were there and they said the atmosphere was flat. I didn't really, I'm watching the game on TV for this one. So I'm just looking at the game and I'm not really listening to the atmosphere. So I can't really say myself, but there's a few that went today that said the atmosphere was flat again, that it dropped off, and it surprises me because of how big the game was, if that was the case. But if he's trying to get the fans behind him when we've not got long to go in the game, at that point, you've just got to be getting behind the boys, regardless of whether they've got something to get up behind. I just think that if he's getting them going, I just think the fans need to respond, because look, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, is to win matches. And that's what he's ultimately trying to do. But yeah, it definitely wasn't his best game. Hopefully, Sandro Tonali is back in the 6 and Bruno's back in the 8, and all will be well. A couple of other questions to run through and then some comments to finish. But first of all, Nova, great to see you've gifted 5 Loaded Mag NUFC memberships. brilliant stuff.
Cheers,
from
Nova.
And great, obviously, for everyone in the chat as well, and whoever's been gifted a membership. Great stuff all round. A couple of other Newcastle questions, and then I'm going to go to some comments that people have just made generally, and then some questions outside of that just to wrap up, boys. So let's go to this one. We talked about Barnes already, but Jimmy Watt says, do you think Barnes will be leaving in the summer? Looks like Willock could be Gordon's backup. So two questions in one then. Do you think Barnes will be leaving in the summer? And secondly, do you think Willock could be, with Barnes leaving, Gordon's backup off the back of that? What we think about that, boys?
And anyone is up for debate really come the summer. If we got a decent offer, including both guys, but both Harvey Barnes and Joe Willock. So it's hard to say there yet, Jimmy. But I do like Willock on the left. Today he was linking up well with Gordon. They were kind of swapping positions at the time. In the past, he's linked well with Joe Linton. So it's kind of like what we said earlier in the night. I just want to see a bit of consistency from Willock now. Maybe not every game, but I want to see it more than once every 15 games. I'm not counting the cup game against Birmingham in that, where he did play really, really well there as well. But I just want to see it more often. It was really, really good today. The ball seemed to stick to his feet. He wasn't falling over as often, and he just seems to bring it with him. So he played really well.
Chris?
Yeah, for me, mate, I think both are going to be up for discussion in the summer, is what I'd say. I don't think, as it stands, either of them can command a first team 11 place, and therefore you would class them as fringe players. I think on the day both can do, both are more than capable of stepping into the breach. But do I think they can play 5, 10, 15 games in a row in the first team? No. So I think if somebody came in with a reasonable offer for either or both, I think we would consider. I've already said, Jimmy, on here, like, after seeing Joe Willock play so fantastically well against Birmingham in that left wing position, and then seeing highlights of him today playing his best football in that left wing position, I think it's a great point you make in terms of Izzy Gordon's backup on that left wing. I suppose the advantage of Joe Willock is, he can play left centre mid and also left wing. But from what I'm seeing from him and, his skill set, I'd rather see him higher up the pitch than in the centre of the park. I think, but yeah, to try and answer the question, I think Barnes and Willock will both be up for discussion. And I think if any serious bid was to come in for either of them, I think Newcastle will consider it.
I think, from my perspective, I think if you're asking me which one is more likely to stay at Newcastle United next season, I would say it'd be Joe Willock, just because of the point that I think Joe Willock would be happier of the two to continue being a squad player. I think Harvey Barnes at 28 years old is going to want to play first team football, and I think if that option arises in the summer, which I think it will, I think he'll ask to leave. And I think Newcastle United will sell him. And I think it'd probably be the right thing to do. I love Harvey Barnes. I really do. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a very good goal scorer, but he hasn't been able to show it at Newcastle United, unfortunately, for whatever reason, whether it's style of setup, play, whatever it is, injuries that have held him back. He just needs to go and play somewhere else. And if we can recoup 30 million, which I think we're more than capable of doing, by the way. If we can get anywhere around 30 million for Harvey Barnes, I'd say, yeah, happy days. And considering that PSR is taking on for another year, I think getting that fee for Harvey Barnes alone would kind of just end that conversation for 2026. And I think we reinvest that money in it. I don't think Willock would be the backup left winger, by the way. I think it would just be a squad player, number 8 on the left hand side, winger if needed. But I think it'd be third choice. I think we go out and actually get someone that can actually play this style of play on the left wing as a genuine alternative to Gordon, and everybody's happy. in the end.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe one more from the questions before we go on. Let me just have a look. Let's do this one from Stephen. Regardless of today's result, with the owners in the stands, do you think that they will be concerned with the progress of the club? And do you think they may consider a change? So the chairman was in the house watching the game today, kicking a ball on St. James's Park after the game. Rumored to be making some big decisions regarding the stadium, training ground, and various other things. Do you think he'd have been concerned about today's performance and the progress of the club at this point? What from what Stephen said, boys?
Not one bit, Stephen. Is what I'm saying there. We're fifth in the league. We're in the League Cup final. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in everything that we started off with trying to achieve this season. He asked us here to make decisions on the stadium and the training ground. We mightn't hear about it for another while yet, but there's big decisions to be made there. But no way is he thinking about changing Eddie out. What was I going to say here? He's the run we went on there when things were looking dodgy potentially for Eddie at the time. He clawed it back, but I still say what I said at the start of the season. And when it comes to Eddie Howe, it comes down to the where we finished in the season and looking at everything then together as a collective and see where we want to go, where we are, where we want to go. Like he hasn't. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. There's been 3 transfer windows. He hasn't been allowed to bring anyone in, apart from Lloyd Kelly, who's now gone out again. Like you can't throw Eddie under the bus for that. So he deserves the way things stand now. He deserves to be here for the summer and into next season, and he deserves a transfer window where we can spend a bit, bulk out his squad a bit, bring in some key players again, like he did with Tonali, and strengthen, and hopefully that's in the Champions League, and we can have a go at it, and hopefully it'll be a different format anyway. So hopefully it wouldn't be as difficult as it was. It can't be as difficult as it was for us the first time. So to answer your question, no, he's not considering a change in Eddie Howe.
No, I mean for me, the only change I think Yasser Al-Rumayyan will be considering making is bringing some players in the summer. I think that the first half, I think he'd have been really pleased. Second half, he'll have been a bit concerned. And I think the first thing Eddie Howe probably would have said to him privately is, we need some fresh blood. We're lacking 2 or 3 first team players in this squad, and we need to freshen up. We needed to freshen up in January. We needed to freshen up last summer. And unfortunately, for one reason or another, we've not been able to do it. And I think now it's about, looking at where we are, like Daz has just said. We're still in all competitions. We've just beaten third in the league and played fantastically well against them in the first half, despite going 1-0 down. So I think there's lots of positives from today. But I think, to be honest, it was evidently clear that these players, they need a hand. This manager needs a hand, and I think that's what Eddie Howe will be saying. We'll be hoping that we can open those purse strings in the summer, and I'm hoping that we can bring in at least 2, if not 3, first team ready players, and also maybe a couple on the fringes as well. Players with potential going forward. But it's evident to me that we desperately need a new goalkeeper. We desperately need a new right winger, and we desperately need a new centre back. And I think if we were to upgrade in those 3 positions and add a couple here and there around the squad, I think we can go in with a lot of excitement into next season.
Yeah. I don't think there's any concerns with regards to the progress of the club at all. I think we're right in the mix for Champions League football. We're in 2 cup competitions, 1 being in the final. And on top of that, we've done that without signing a first team ready player in the last 3 windows, nearly 4 windows. I think he'll be looking at all of those as a chairman and going, we've not done bad. Considering that everyone around us, you look at every other team around us in that league, right? They've spent hundreds of millions in those last 3 windows where we've not spent a penny, pretty much. All barring the hall fee and the Vlachodimos fee, which is still up in the air. Other than those 2 players, we haven't signed anyone for nearly 4 windows. He'll be looking at that and going, still fighting for Champions League after all of that? Not doing too bad. Let's go and invest in the summer. And that's exactly what I think Newcastle United will do. Absolutely. I think the big reason why he'll be here is that they'll be finalising what's happening on the stadium, finalising what's happening on the training ground. And for me, hopefully, they're finalising sponsorships so we can flush these top 6 cartel lot out the water, and we can start really competing at the highest level. So I hope all 3 of those things are being discussed. I think the summer signings will come later on towards the end of the season, and I think they'll act quick and act fast. But there's just my little thoughts.
Last thing, Pete, I think you should be talking to him as well, just in case we win that League Cup, where he'd like his statue. That's the last thing.
Absolutely. A statue indeed. Some positive comments here from David. 3 points is all that matters. So we've talked about the intricacies of the game today, but the 3 points is all that matters, which is absolutely right. I said to you, Daz, just before Chris came on, the key was, and the remit was, for us the whole of this week, must-win game. We have to win. So many people in the chat, so many people on social media was win at all costs. Doesn't matter how we win, just make sure we win. David, you're absolutely right. It's all that matters. We got the win. Regardless. Robbie Clark quite bullish in his comments tonight, but I'm here for it. A good win today. Ignore the moaning naysayers on socials. Yeah, well, you know,
there's plenty of them.
We've played better and lost. Put it that way. And so, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, it's not a bad win at all against a team that's fighting in 3rd place and for Champions League football. So, yeah, Nobby, I hear it. Yano sticking the boot in to Wolfie. So, Wolfie, if you're watching, Arsenal, City, Ipswich, Man United, Villa, Everton, Spurs, Brentford, your next 8 fixtures. I think I was generous predicting 6 points. We will have to remind Wolfie about that. And whenever we do the top table talk, which, boys, we'll have to talk about. Top table talk may well be difficult this week. I'll update you about why that might be the case.
Yeah.
After the show, it might well be difficult this week. But when we do, we can remind Wolfie of that from Yano. Okay. An interesting one to kind of end on. There's some other points in there. Thank you for your questions. But I'm going to end on this one. Jimmy Watt says, not Newcastle related, but rumours Villa could break PSR. What do we think?
I'm here first when it happens. So bring that on. Yeah, I know this. Isn't it confirmed that they've broken UEFA rules? I think, and but they'll probably just get a fine. And if that's the case, who cares? Bring that on for us next year, if that's all you have to worry about. But PSR, that's a different kind of fish.
What do we think?
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising to us as a channel, is it? Because we've spoken about this for the last few months, saying that, you know, Villa must be in trouble, and we know that they sold John Duran, and people were saying, "Oh, it's the PSR sources," but then they've then gone and signed Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio, who played a key part in their 3 points. So I'm sure most Villa fans will be happy with that. Goal, assist, and then assist goal, I believe. But yeah, I'm not that surprised, and I'll be honest, boys. I'm now kind of I'm pleased in many ways that, you know, we kept our powder dry in January, and now I'm thinking they're going to have to do something before that end of June deadline, and I don't know whether I don't know whether I'm being too hopeful here, but I would love Eddie Howe and this ownership to give Aston Villa a call and see what Morgan Rogers is chatting. I would love that.
Get Mad Dog to make the call.
Mate,
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, with the wham hoodie on, ready. Yeah, I think, Frieden 81's on it. Rogers in ? I think it's interesting, and the maddest thing for me is about Aston Villa as well, which again we've spoken about in recent times. Other than Morgan Rogers, I don't look at their team and have a wish list of like 3, 4, 5, 6 players. I just don't. And now they've sold Javan, and there's talk of Arsenal going back in for Watkins in the summer. You've then got question marks around Villa as a whole, because then you're thinking, is their squad going to be strong enough? Are they going to be, and in this summer coming, are they going to be able to bring in the players necessary in order to maintain what they've achieved? Is their squad strong enough? I'm really not sure. I'm not.
They need to win the Champions League, Chris, I think. Didn't Kieran? I don't know you want to have your say this as well, Pete. Didn't Kieran Maguire rule out Villa as having PSR issues though? In our conversation,
did he answer the question?
Did he answer for you, Chris? Did he give you any indication in your 1-to-1?
We didn't touch on Villa or PSR in the brief moments we spoke. But no, you're right, Pete. He didn't really answer the question, did he? Because I think it was all a little bit up in the air at that point when we asked him.
I think Villa have gone for broke. I've been saying it to Billy. Billy keeps putting his hands up, saying, "I don't understand PSR. I don't understand it." I think he's putting his head in the sand.
You will soon.
At the moment, he's hiding away from the fact. But Aston Villa have gone for broke. They have made these big signings, and actually, we keep talking about Rashford and Asensio. The biggest signing they made was Disasi. They paid more for him for a loan fee and covering his wages. They paid more out for him. I think they paid 11, 12 million in all for him alone for a fee from Chelsea. They have gone for broke, and they have gone Champions League or bust. And I think the longer they stay in the Champions League, so if they do get to the quarterfinals or whatever it is, and then eventually go out, could actually be a great thing for us, because that takes them into mid-April. And if that continues to become a distraction, that could be something that puts them out of that Champions League conversation completely, because that can be a good thing for us. But there was no doubt in my mind with the amount of money that they've spent on wages alone, even though they've got a 96% turnover at the moment, they are in a position where I think they could potentially have to sell another player. Either this June or certainly after this next PSR section, either in the rest of the summer or in January next year. I think they're going to be in a really difficult position, because I've got a feeling that both Asensio and Rashford aren't going to stay at the club. And so they've sold Duran. They've got Watkins that's effectively wanting to join Arsenal. Now he's had a little whiff and he's had a little potential, a bit like Gordon. They had that little close shave with it, and now he's going, "Oh, it's my club that I support. Do I want to stay? Do I want to go?" So they're effectively losing 2 players in the summer that they're going to have to replace, but they also need to replace a striker on top of that as well, in Duran, who's already left. And I'm not sure they've got the money there to splash down on all those players, and I think they're going to be in a really difficult position. But they'll be in an even more difficult position if, 1, they don't get Champions League, and 2, if they miss out on Europe completely, which isn't out the realms of possibility either. Martinez, he's in his 30s, I think.
Yeah, because at Arsenal for so long as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I'd love him. He is one I would have a bit of interest in.
He's 32. He'll be 33 in September.
He's the same age as Pope, effectively, or similar age to Pope. Yeah, so I think
just imagine the fume. Imagine the sob on the halt if we signed Emi Martinez. Oh,
if you wanted experience for a couple of years, like, he's still got a good couple of years in him for sure. Yeah, he'd be a valuable addition to any team. That is absolutely clear. But hey, I'm not against the Martinez Trafford keeping duo. Martinez is the number one, and Trafford learning nothing for a couple of years. Because look, Trafford's 22. He's still a kid. Like he's still like in like 22 years old in keeper ages is like what Louis Miley is right now when he came through at 17 years old. That's the equivalent of an outfield player to a goalkeeper. Like he's still incredibly young. I remember when Jordan Pickford came through and everyone was raving on about him when he had that season with Sunderland and they got relegated. I think he was like 22, 23 at the time himself. And now he's like 30 and an experienced goalkeeper. Like Trafford's still in that mold. He's still very, very young. He could still ride the bench for a year and learn off another goalkeeper. And who's to say we don't play Trafford in, whatever European competitions we play him in certain league games or certain cup competitions or European competitions. So it's not out the wrong.
This is where we're going well into the summer here, boys. Let's focus on the here and now. We'll be more of that chat before that PSR deadline in the end of June. See an idea where we are.
We'll be finding more out from Kieran Maguire, that's for sure. But look, going back to this initial post here, smash the like button if you haven't already. And look, if you want to be like everyone else, go buy us a beer. We won. Celebrate. Go buy us a beer. The link is right there.
The link is on the QR code, and it's also in the description. And like shout out to Jason Scott as well, who I know he liked the video at the start. He couldn't make it. He's going to watch it back. So cheers, Jason. You were the first one to buy us a beer. Thanks for that. Much appreciated. But that is really it. That's our show. I think it's time for us to bring it to a close. We keep an eye out what we land with next. But we'll be back, no doubt, during the week. So have a good one, everyone. See you on the next one. Keep those shades handy.
Each and every single day, I know I'm gonna have to eventually give you away.